Welcome back. One of our area's former top prosecutors may soon be the one prosecuted. Former Lorain County Prosecutor J.D. Tomlinson has long been the center of controversy.
Law enforcement, we understand, has finished investigating him once again, and they're now presenting their findings to a special prosecutor. 19 investigator Mike Mason has the story.
This case has been assigned to the Ottawa County Prosecutor. He's working with the Lorain County Sheriff's Office after they suggested charging Tomlinson with several serious counts.
This case centers around Tomlinson's ex-girlfriend and co-worker. After resigning in 2023 from his office, she filed a complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission accusing Tomlinson of sexual harassment. She also accused him of physical abuse. That same year, he agreed to pay that woman a $100,000 settlement from the prosecutor's office, funded by taxpayer money. Last year, the Lorain County Sheriff's Office investigated and charged Tomlinson with 3 felonies: tampering with evidence, intimidation, and attempted bribery. After Tomlinson lost his bid for re-election, the case was dismissed. When Lorain County Sheriff Jack Hall took office earlier this year, he did his own investigation. He recently presented his findings to a special prosecutor.
Well, right now we're going to be meeting with the Ottawa County Prosecutor because that entire case involving the former county prosecutor was scrapped down to the bare metal. Our public corruption unit looked at everything in that case. So in regards to what gets forwarded to the prosecutor, which I'm hoping will be before the end of the year that they meet, we'll be looking at that and looking at all the new charges, or what should have been done or what we thought should have been done from the beginning.
Tomlinson has not been charged in connection with this case. He tells me he's completely innocent in all of this, but right now he doesn't want to comment. We also reached out to the special prosecutor, but we haven't heard back. Mike Mason, 19 News.
Now you're